My name is Harold Reynolds. I will be giving 3 presentations that are a part of this course material. Before starting with the first presentation, I want to provide you with my academic and professional background, and then give you more detail on the area of research for my doctoral study. My academic background includes a degree of Doctor of Business Administration with a focus on leadership. I also hold a Master's of Business Administration, and for my undergraduate degree was in accounting. I'm also a non-active certified public accounting, having passed the CPA exam in 1986. Although my undergraduate degree is in accounting and I did pass the CPA exam, my professional career includes 30 years of information technology. For most of those 30 years, I've either worked for one of the major consulting firms or as a leader in a corporate environment. Although I have a passion for technology and innovation, my professional focus has been on helping companies utilize information technology to transform their organizations. I've also been fortunate enough to utilize what I've learned from my doctoral study to help business leaders understand the challenges of innovating while maximizing the returns on their investments. Specifically, I have been working with business leaders on the process of managing innovation. The title of my doctoral study is Organizational Ambidexterity at a Department Level. The problem I researched for my study was how do managers explore new knowledge while simultaneously exploiting existing knowledge. The 3 presentations I will give you in this course are taken from my doctoral study. For the most part, you will find the same concepts in the Tid and Besant's textbook of managing innovation. I will dive a little deeper into the challenges leaders have to achieve organizational ambidexterity. But first, I will answer the question of why should you care about the concept of organizational ambidexterity, and then describe the concept in detail. The video content is broken up into 3 units. This unit is Unit 1. The title is Organizational Ambidexterity. What is it and why is it needed? The second unit is Antecedents and Moderators of Organizational Ambidexterity, and Unit 3 is Exploration and Exploitation, Conflicted Learning Processes. Now we'll move on to Unit 1. Before I define organizational ambidexterity, I want to suggest why the concept is important. Schumpeter was the first to define the role of the entrepreneur. In free markets, an entrepreneur is constantly seeking ways to destroy the old rules of business. We see the results of this every day as consumers. We make decisions to purchase a product or service from a different provider because the new provider has found a better way to produce the product or service. The new provider has found a better way than the old provider to fulfill our need as a consumer. That is the role of the entrepreneur in a free market society. Historically, corporations have been built on the assumption of continuity. Their focus was on operations. However, capital markets are built on the assumption of discontinuity. The focus is on creation and destruction. Efficient markets destroy corporations without thought or remorse. In the 1980s and 1990s, IBM forecasted their mainframe sales growth based on general economic forecasts for growth without regard to the emerging PC industry. The mental models used by IBM executives were flawed due to their belief mainframe computing was the only way to satisfy the needs of corporations. Due to those flawed mental models, and entrepreneurs in the PC industry almost destroyed IBM in the late 1980s and early 1990s. In the late 1990s, IBM switched their focus from hardware to services, and IBM is still a leader in the information technology industry, but in the services industry and not hardware. IBM is a great example of a company that survived creative destruction. IBM is an example of why corporations must focus on efficiency to meet shareholder expectations and at the same time focus on innovation adoption to fend off entrepreneurs. Although the theory is interesting, the harsh reality suggests ignoring the concept of creative destruction is devastating for corporations and will become even more so in the future. Globalization and innovation has increased the speed of change required for corporations to survive. The average lifetime on the S&P 500 for a corporation was approximately 60 years in the 1950s, 30 years in the 1970s, 20 years in the 1990s, and is projected to be 10 years by 2020. Forster suggested that less than 25% of all medium to large companies in Western industrialized countries will be in existence by 2030 due to leaders managing to the extremes of organizational efficiency or innovation adoption. In other words, creative destruction will destroy those companies that do not innovate fast. Organizational ambidexterity defined. Exploitation is organizational learning activities such as refinement, efficiency, implementation, and execution. Exploration is organizational learning activities such as search, variation, risk-taking, experimentation, and innovation. Organizational ambidexterity is the simultaneous pursuit of exploitation and exploration. So what happens when leaders do not achieve organizational ambidexterity in relationship to innovation? Leadership focused exclusively on improving efficiency reduces innovation adoption. Conversely, leadership focused exclusively on innovation adoption creates organizational inefficiency. That is the end of Unit 1. There's a couple of books I would suggest reading if you're interested in how this topic is applied. The first book is Creative Destructions: Why Companies That Are Built to Last Underperform the Market and How to Successfully Transform Them. This book builds a strong quantitative case for why companies must continually destroy their own business and what keeps them from doing it. The second book is called Car Guys versus Bean Counters: The Battle of the Soul of American Business. This book's a reflection on the American automobile industry, written in 2011 by the former vice chairman of General Motors. In this book, you can think of car guys as being exploration and bean counters being exploitation. This book is especially interesting given the transformation that analysts are predicting for the automotive industry.